Well, welcome to Simple Theology. We're so excited today. What a special guest we have. This is one of my heroes. Obi is a coach at DePaul University. And I'm so excited. Goes to church here. I love him and his wife. And man, his son is one of my favorites.
He's fun.
He's fun.
He's fun.
He is fun.
Watching him at the basketball games, he's terrific.
And then we have,
Wow.
well, I was going to say something that I chose not to say.
I know where you were going.
We have Reverend Mark Damer here. Hey, we're glad you're here. We're going to have some fun, and we have some good stuff today.
Yeah.
Obi, we're so excited you're here.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah.
This is delightful. I appreciate it.
So tell us just a little bit about you, about you better talk about your wife and your kids and...
Yeah, absolutely. So about 3 years ago, we moved to Indiana with the life I have. Obviously, you mentioned as a basketball coach.
Yeah.
You know, you're changing locations all the time. You know, depending on coaches. You know, coaches getting resigning, coaches getting fired. You know, that's the kind of life I live. And so, actually started collegiate coaching back in 2017. You know, kid that grew up in the Chicagoland area, western suburbs of Chicago, going to middle of nowhere, Iowa. I was like, okay, you know, God, why are you taking me? You know, I'm a suburban kid going to middle of nowhere, Iowa. And so I was like, all right, you know, I'm going to do this for 1 year. And then afterwards, I'm going to find a job in the Chicagoland area. Oh. And, you know, 1 year turned to 5 years. Because after my first year, so I coached at Central College in Iowa, a small town, Pella, Iowa, which is about 40 minutes outside of Des Moines.
Yeah. Okay.
After that first year, that's when I met Hannah.
Okay.
Because she was living in the Des Moines area. And so we started dating.
Now you have to say thank you, Lord, for sending me to Iowa, don't you?
And the crazy part is when we started dating, our first date was at the Cheesecake Factory.
Okay.
And we met at Cheesecake Factory. We were, texting and doing the whole nine, before our first date. Yeah. And so our first date, imagine, haven't seen each other, in person for the first time, had a 40-minute wait. Now imagine that.
Oh, yeah,
first date,
you got a lot to talk about.
40-minute wait, haven't really seen each other in person.
Hey, that's probably a good thing though, right? Because you really got to take that time to get to know that person.
And weird though.
Well, we were just standing there for 40 minutes, and that was 40 minutes. It's like we knew each other for 40 years.
Perfect. That's wonderful.
I mean, we were just standing there just talking. All of a sudden, they said, your table's ready. And we're like, oh, okay. And, I mean, we shut the whole place down.
That's awesome. That's a good story.
She actually texted one of her best friends and was like, I think I met my husband.
Perfect.
I think you got the best deal out of this.
And so obviously, and then we got engaged a year later. Got married. When somebody gets married, or people are going to change locations, they're going to find a different job. I was working at Central College. Yeah. She did ministry work in Des Moines for Hope Ministries, small Christian organization with fundraising. There was a job, so she would go to the basketball games when I was at Central, and she would talk to different people. Okay. She ran to one of the major gift officers that does fundraising for that, and one of the positions was open. Like, hey, are you interested in this? Okay. So that would keep me around. That move her to Pella. Yeah. And and so she ended up taking that. Yeah. And so then we ended up staying for another, few years.
All right.
So now tell us about coaching at DePaul, brief.
So like I mentioned, when...
Now wait a minute, you played ball across seas, right? You played professionally,
I did. So growing up in the western suburbs of Chicago, I actually played my collegiate ball at Greenville University. Okay. Didn't know it was a Christian school. Oh. And so that was a huge plus too. Yeah. And that was kind of, I talked about what the Youth Awakening guys, my childhood, and then obviously, going to a Christian school was really huge. My mentor till this day, when I text him, he's a huge mentor for me to this day, and he put me in position. He challenged me because I was a guy that was a hothead, I was cocky, very prideful, and he humbled me big time.
Wow, because you don't seem like to me you're prideful.
I don't. That doesn't come off.
My wife will sometimes. She's like, you need to
dial it down a notch.
She's always saying pride comes before fall all the time.
Wives have a way to do that.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do. Carrie, I have to humble you once in a while. Yeah, we'll go on. Go ahead, Obi. It's all yours, Obi.
And so my coach, Dr. George Barber, I mean, we had, so in our, in a lot of collegiate locker rooms, you'll have a place where you can't like walk over it or put stuff in there. And it had a big Romans 12:2 on there.
Okay.
And that was a testament, because you see nowadays, professional athletes, even in collegiate, like people see that's what they think that's normal.
Yeah.
And it's not. And, people like myself, I want to be able to change that. And there's coaches that are of faith. Sometimes it's hard to share it with the mainstream that we live in.
Yeah.
And we kind of have to change the mold with that and, show people that it's okay to share your faith with people that are non-believers and make those non-believers start believing. Because we're in this, time and day now where, things are getting crazy and, the Lord is coming.
Yeah.
He's coming. He's coming.
Yeah.
You just don't know when. You have to be ready.
Right.
Because Judgment Day is going to be here.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, ultimately, that's your call, right?
Yeah,
is
it
you
is.
reach them. That's why God's got you.
Yeah.
You can reach the youth.
And you talked about it a little bit with, for those of you who don't know, Obi was our first person to start our Living Proof series with the Awakening Youth, our 7th through 12th grade youth group.
What time they meet?
So we meet right after first service ends, around 10:15 in our Upper East classroom. So you 7th through 12th graders, this is the place you want to be. But I do want to just briefly touch on kind of some of what you talked about it a little bit, but briefly touch on some of what you went over with them.
Yeah, so Youth Awakening, Pastor Mark gave me the opportunity to just share my testimony with the young guys and guys and gals, and just being able to share my story, because that's a time and age with the youth where they're vulnerable to a lot of things.
Yep.
They're influenced by a lot of things.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as parents, as mentors, as teachers, we have to understand that they're in school 8 hours of the day every day when the school's in session.
Right.
And we only get them, when we get home, the clock is ticking before they go to bed.
Absolutely.
And they're
Yeah.
influenced by their friends, social media, what they see, even their
true.
teachers
Yep.
sometimes.
Yep.
Yep.
And we got to be able to, show them what is true.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just something that my wife and I always talk about with our kids, is like,
Yeah.
we got to show them what is true and what's not.
Yeah.
And be able to share my testimony, how God's delivered me as a young child. Because I was, growing up, for me, I grew up in a household family. My mom did a lot of things. My dad, we till this day, we don't talk anymore. He said things that he didn't think I was, going to go to school. I had teachers, growing up said, I'd either be dead or in jail, but I was able to, graduate high school, go to college and graduate, get my master's. And now I'm in the higher education.
Okay.
Mentor and educating guys.
Yeah.
And so that's a testament to, what the Lord's, done. And that's, by the grace of God and, a lot of prayers.
Yeah.
And be able to share my childhood and then what I did in college, and then obviously professionally, be able to, open up my eyes and it's a big world out there.
Yeah.
And I encourage people to, go, overseas and explore and things like that. And then being able to take all what I've learned as a young kid, as a kid in college, post college, and then now to this day in present day, being able to share the gospel. And
So where did you play at when you played professionally across seas?
so my first year, I was drafted in the National Basketball League of Canada, which is kind of equivalent to the NBA G League. So I started out in Canada, then I moved next year to Serbia, Kosovo. So I was there for my second year, and then third year I played in Italy, and then my last year I played in Egypt. And then with my background, because my parents are Nigerian immigrants, I'm the first of four in my family, so I got the opportunity to play on the Nigerian national team.
Oh,
just 'cause,
wow, that's fantastic.
Tell me that now.
Yeah,
I remember that. That's so awesome.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So when you played for Egypt too, you're playing in different, Is it just in Egypt?
Just in Egypt? So
In Cairo
So
and-
yeah. So I lived in Alexandria.
Okay, all right.
And so you had leagues in Alexandria, you had leagues in Cairo, and then obviously
right.
you'll cross paths, and we would bus to
Yeah.
go to Cairo, and it's about almost 8 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just a smooth 8 hours. You're
Yeah,
going
yeah,
through
yeah,
and-
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been there a few
Yeah.
times. What about in Italy? Do you play? Is it only in Italy, or
It's
do you,
only
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
all right.
yeah.
So with you, 1 year here, 1 year here, 1 year here, 1 year here, when you're doing something you love, how difficult is that to be here in 1 year, there in another year, here in another year?
It's
Like,
tough.
how is that for you?
It's tough because like overseas, like they don't have like player unions like they do in the NBA, and so like you might be there 1 year, you might get lucky and sign a second contract, or just bounce around, just kind of like with coaches, just bounce around, just see what fits and see if you could play there for a long time.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
So, but the competition's fierce and tough.
Yeah, it is.
Huh?
It
I mean,
is.
it's
It
not
is. Yeah,
just
yeah,
like it's
yeah.
real
No, yeah.
basketball.
It
Like,
is real basketball. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Playing FIBA basketball. Oh yeah,
yeah.
We're good.
yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what you did, what your game was like. What'd you do? Did you?
Oh,
So I'm a defensive guy. So
Okay.
in college, I was a 2-time all defensive player of the year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, everybody wants to shoot the basketball. You
Man,
know,
they do nowadays.
everybody wants to shoot the basketball. Everyone wants to
Now
dribble.
hold on.
Hey,
Now
Obi,
hold on.
Point right this
Now
way.
hold on.
Everybody wants to
Now
shoot
hold
the
on.
basketball. All right, let's go on.
You don't see. You won't let me defend myself there.
So, two-time defensive.
2-time defensive
Okay.
player of the year, and I was all conference twice as well. I just, like, if you want to win, you have to have different intangibles in your game and
Yeah.
how you want to.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And I took pride in defense. Like, I'm going to stop the best player. I didn't care if you're a point guard. I didn't care if you're a wing guy. I didn't care if you're a post. I was guarding you, and I was going to shut you down.
Love it.
Oh, he's
Love
playing
it.
you
Love
next
it.
door.
Love it. Love
Lord
it.
Jesus. This is a divine
Yeah.
appointment.
Hey, you know I don't back down from anything.
So take me back to, we're bouncing all over, but
It's all
we're
good.
so
It's all
excited
good.
to
It's
be
all
here.
good. It's good to be here.
And man, I'm so excited about you investing in our. You're going to be doing a lot more things here too.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to keep recruiting him, and Hannah's
We
already
appreciate,
leading.
Yeah.
we appreciate what
Yeah.
you did, and,
Yeah.
and from all accounts, from the students I talked to, they were really impacted by it. So we thank you for
Absolutely.
that. For sure.
Absolutely. I mean, that takeaway, when I went home, I told her, I was like, I know you do a lot with the kids.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, volunteering, once every other week with the
we
youth
love
group. I think they need that, especially
cool.
for the men. They need.
Yeah. I was specifically thinking
Yeah.
about kind of some of the older boys and
Yeah.
how you would be able to
Yeah.
connect with them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And we're trying to, I'm pretty proud of Mark for doing this. We're really trying something different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we just did a youth group. We can just spend a bunch of money and use events and but not really impacting kids. So
Right.
he's really trying to disciple, but he's still doing big events.
Yeah, we still
do.
yeah.
They still go do cool things.
We hang. I mean, you heard when kind of some of the announcements I did
Yeah,
at the very
yeah,
beginning.
yeah.
You heard some of the
Yeah.
stuff that we do. So
But we're really trying to impact them, and
Yeah.
thank you. Like, we
Yeah.
want to really, make it you want to have a good experience, but you also want them to be discipled, right? And tell the
Absolutely.
truth
Absolutely.
and teach
Absolutely.
them, and
Yeah.
Yep.
somebody speak
because
the
they're
truth.
nearing a point when they're
Yeah.
going to fly the coop, and mom and dad
Yeah.
they're not going to be there
Right.
to hold your hand.
Right.
So they got to make moves on their own and know what they got to, what they have to do, and just be rooted and strong in their faith.
Absolutely.
So
Church world has changed, like youth group, what it used to be from when we started to where, and so we're just, and I appreciate Mark really being creative here and like saying how we think.
it's not just me. We got a good team.
Yeah,
We
no,
got a
and
good
all the
team.
people got a great
Yeah,
team,
yeah,
man.
a great
We got
team.
some faithful people serving.
For sure. For sure.
And probably still has room for more help too.
Hey, y'all see me on Sunday. Holla at me. You
Yeah.
know, Blended Kids or Awakening You.
So tell me about DePaul real fast. Tell me about coaching there.
So took the job about 3 years ago. Didn't know anything about the school. When the head coach came in place, we kind of shared the same mindset with defensive mentality. That's kind of how we kind of got drawn in. He put me on the staff.
Yeah.
Our first year, we had a great first year. Won 18 games.
Okay.
Lost in the semifinals in the conference tournament. Then our second year, we brought in 10 new freshmen.
Ooh.
Because with that you kind of
Yeah.
have to start over again, kind of bring in your own recruits. So we brought in 10 new freshmen. We were very young last year. I mean, we started about 60%. All young guys.
Yeah.
Last year. So last year was kind of a punch in the mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
We were in close games, just didn't know how to win.
Yeah.
This year, same thing. You have all those young guys that are kind of a year older.
Yeah.
Kind of has some senior leadership a little bit.
Yeah.
Those games that we lost close, we were able to win those games. And so,
Awesome. I know one thing you spoke. We got to go watch you coach. We were excited about going.
Yeah.
We got in there. Then halftime, we were watching your son because he is the most intense. Like, I fell in love with that little boy. Like, he knows this game, man.
listen,
He ain't
I'll
messing
tell you
around.
what,
does know
Malachi,
the game.
He is just too cool.
as a dad, you always want your son, to be a sports guy. Didn't force it upon him at all.
Yeah.
I mean, from day one, if you look at some of our stuff on social media, from day one, he had basketball in his hand,
Yeah.
and he knows the
Yeah.
game,
Yeah.
and he's yelling at whether it's live or on the TV, he knows what's going on.
You know what my son did to me? I don't know if you know this story. He was a gymnast, and so he got offered by the guy who was running the marketing for the Pacers. His name was Billy Jeff. But anyway, make long story short, Johnny, they offered him to be Boomer Jr.
Okay.
And so they were going to we were going to go to every, like, I forget what it was, once a week to Pacer games. And we were going to be sitting on the front row in the locker room. He is Boomer Jr.
Yeah.
He goes, one time they're playing the Detroit Pistons. That's when they had Reggie Miller and the Pistons and so they were rivals.
Yeah.
And the game is tight through the whole thing, and they're not going to bring Johnny out until the fourth quarter.
Okay.
He's going to tumble out, And Reggie Miller hit a three to tie it up at the end of the third quarter. The crowd's going crazy. So Johnny's supposed to tumble out there. He thinks it's about him, right? But it's really not. It's about Reggie Miller. Just hit a three-pointer. He tumbles out, and man, I'm so excited. He comes at the end of the game, and he looks at me and goes, I ain't never doing this again.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm like, Johnny,
Wow.
Johnny.
Like, reconsider.
Hey, and boom. And Kim looked at me and said, he's not doing it again. I still love you, son. I've forgiven you since then.
No, I
So
completely.
but you said to me after the game, I said, man, I have a few questions because I think I know basketball. I don't know anything.
Hey, he actually does know a little bit. He does know a little bit.
He really
for real.
does.
He does.
I really don't. Obi, Obi, you have been my therapy all winter, and I'm sorry. I have
Hey, it's
been
true. It's true. He'll come into the office and say, "Yeah, I was talking to Obi about that."
Listen, I was never a Miller fan, and then until we started talking about it, now I'm either on my phone looking at live stats.
Right, exactly. My wife is a Maryland
I'm Big
fan.
Ten Network watching it. I'm on CBS watching it. I'm just like, come on, because I know if they lose, I was like, I'm gonna get a whole text message with pastor say something. I was like,
that is absolutely what happened.
You said to me after the game, I said, why did you guys do this? He goes, we tell them what to do. That doesn't mean they're going to go do it.
Yeah.
And it was eye-opening for me. Like, I'm an idiot. I've never been there. I don't know.
As assistant coach, you have things you want in place, and you can ask a bunch of questions and kind of give suggestions to the head coach, and it's up to them.
But it's up to the kids to listen.
They got to
right?
execute, right?
Yep.
So talk to us about like your mission. Like, so you're there for a higher purpose, and so how do you pray over the team, or how are you trying to reach them? What do you like?
So for me, it's obviously basketball is a byproduct. That's a cherry on top. But our mission is like, and I talk when we have recruits, come on campus and stuff. It's like we get you for 4 years, and we develop you. But it's not just about the basketball part.
Yeah.
We want to see you guys graduate. We want to see it's the next 40 years.
Yep.
You get a job, calling up, say, hey, I got this job, coach, congratulating them. They get married, have kids, have families, come back for alumni events. And it's in between the lines when I'm developing for, we have a few guys on our team that are, Christian guys. And it's a lot of times it's hard to share your faith in the sport that we play, sports in general, we implemented last year just having team Bible studies every Monday. We try to do that. Take time. It's hard sometimes because with our schedule that we have, but take time to do that. And then we have FCA at our school, so we do that. They do that once a month on Thursdays. Just about just to pray with guys. Pull them to a side. Anything they need. I always have open door policy in my office. They can come in my office anytime and talk to me. A lot of guys, they just confide to me a lot about the issues that they have going on, because we see them all the time.
Right.
They'll come to film sessions. They'll be in practice. They go through a whole lot.
Yeah. I was thinking to myself, well, I think it's probably more like Bible study and everything. That's great.
Yeah.
FCA, Fellowship Christian Athletes, great. But I think it's probably more the relationships that you build with players.
Absolutely.
And then they feel comfortable coming to you with, hey, I got this going on. Can you, speak into my life, pray for me, that kind of thing. So
absolutely. I've been coaching college for 8 years. I've been coaching basketball for 10 years, about 8 at the collegiate level. And I've heard a lot, seen a lot. Kids that come from rough areas, be able to graduate, their parents coming up to me, mom, dad crying, like, thank you for everything you've done. Had a situation at my other place where, a kid was suicidal. Mom calls me and say, hey, I haven't heard from him. And then by the time I got to his dorm room, he almost killed himself. Yeah. And so then he writes me a letter saying, thank you for everything that you've done.
Powerful.
And then I have, another guy that was, going through, spiritual warfare and just being able to pray for him all the time. And he comes to my office, and randomly. And I said, come to my office anytime. I'm like, the 10% of the X's and O's, I always say the 10% of what we do, X and O wise, that doesn't mean anything. It's the 90% of the relationship part, the spiritual part. That's what it's about. Because when you can be able to connect with them on spiritual level and just, flesh as well, whatever it is on the court, they'll be able to take care of because they'll go so hard for you. They'll go to battle for you.
So they're really, once you tell them you're a Christian, they're watching for a long time, but then it's that gives them.
You show yourself faithful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then they build that trust in you.
They see your love and your compassion, you really care about them.
And anybody that knows me, I show tough love. Like it's not,
we see you coach a little bit. We see you coach a little bit.
Oh yeah, it's tough love. So.
That's why I'm scared when I text you crying. You're going to give me some tough love.
Snap out of it, Pastor.
Because I gave you a chance, like in the last game, I said, all right, text me some things that you see, and you waited till halftime, but you knew I was dying 1,000 times.
Well,
you kind of see where that game was going.
But you did say our new coach is a man of faith. So that's good
to hear.
Buzz Williams is a man of faith. If you go on social media, he's always praying for guys, and he's not afraid to do it. He'll do it. He'll do it. Mid game, he'll tell. So I was gonna show you something. There was a clip of him because they're saying he's gonna bring this to Maryland. There's a clip of him. They're playing Duke. I think this is the time he might have been at Virginia Tech. And he went on the microphone in front of everybody, thousands of people. Said, Quit cussing, stop throwing stuff on the court.
I think I remember this.
That's why he's taking a lot of heat from people. Man, really that's probably what it is. It's like, because that's pretty liberal.
Interesting.
But we can make a difference like you're doing with your life. I love it how we're making an influence.
Absolutely.
You can still be a man of faith. You can still mentor to young men, and you can still win ball games.
Right.
It's good.
I want to just pivot quickly. So just a question I had, just speaking about your voice, coaching to me has always been kind of a multi-disciplined form of discipleship. You have your basketball part of it, but you also have, you're growing these kids into young men and all of that, And sometimes you hear people say, that person's voice is kind of growing out of reach, that kind of thing. And you're still a young guy, so this doesn't necessarily apply to you. But what I do want to know is for those older folks that you've seen that continue to do it well, what is it? What is it that they have within them that allows them to reach those kids that you're coaching and stuff like that?
I always say, and I say this to recruits, I'll say this to administration, who I'm talking to parents. We're not in the business of just winning ball games. We're not in the business of just, recruiting, great players. I think we're in the business of helping families. And that's the huge part about it. It's like I talked about is you meet a recruit for the first time, get to know them. They come on campus with their entire family. That's kind of when you kind of like judge, if this is a kid that you want in your program or not.
Right.
But I want kids from different backgrounds. I just don't want to recruit the same kid and be able to help them out. I mean, if they're willing to come here and be committed, I'm committed. If you're committed to us, I'm committed to you. And just watch the development. We're in the business of helping families out because at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Right.
And being able to hear parents throughout the 4 years, thank you for everything you've done. Or I've seen a dramatic change in my son is really huge. That's
And the biggest part of that, in your estimation, is it the relationships that you've built? I would assume it's the relationship.
That's all it is. And you build a relationship over winning is huge.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can win a trophy, but what does it mean tomorrow, right? I mean,
because you can win and still be miserable.
I have a lot of experience winning titles with Kansas City Chiefs and everything. So I understand what it's like to win a title. And really, there's no change. Like, you get excited, obviously, but
this is
things go on.
Kerry has to tell him that he needs to be humble, right?
Well, no. I'm not boasting. I'm just saying it happens. It's a fact,
Hey. I don't know. I was going for that three-peat.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. That's all right, though. We'll get there again.
I think we're probably about time. We thank you for investing in the
Absolutely.
kids. And
Absolutely.
Hey,
Our family is excited to be at TBC. And one of the things that we actually, I didn't mention this, is when we were moving, one of the things like, okay, God, what church are we going to be at? And, we were just looking all over the place. And we're like, okay, let's try, churches, see if they work out. This was the first one we went to.
Is that right?
1 for 1.
1 for 1.
1 for 1. Shot
know,
100% from the field.
I mean, you're blessed. Your wife Hannah, like she's one of the main leaders in the women's group,
Yeah.
and
And she
they're
does
cruising
wonderfully
through
with-
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're excited you're here. And look, I know I'm ahead of the game. I've been multiple fans, and a Terp fan, a Trojan fan, and I'm also a Tiger fan.
Tiger fan.
I am a Tiger fan.
Mizzou?
No, not Mizzou.
The other black and gold.
Oh, the other black. I got you.
I
I got
voted for
you.
you
You
this
did
year.
root for Mizzou this
And
year.
you got smoked,
And we
so
got
you probably
smoked.
don't want me rooting for you. But I was actually looking for my Tigers shirt this morning. I was running late, and I couldn't actually find it, but I'm going to go home and find it. But hey, we appreciate you
Absolutely.
and your
Appreciate you guys.
family.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I promised you I was going to take you out to dinner, and then I made you do a podcast.
Hey,
so
it's
I
all
owe you.
good. It's all good.
Well, you got some wings coming.
Anything else you want?
No. We just appreciate you coming on, doing this, sharing your heart. I thank you not only for what you did with Awakening Youth, but for the work that you do with young men, just as a part of your job. Like that's critical. They may not come here, but they're still human beings that need to know the Lord and need to
Absolutely.
be introduced to Him. So
It is a call for every one of us. Just
Yeah,
not
for sure.
churches outside of the church,
Yeah.
using your profession, doing what
yes,
you do, and make
absolutely,
and reach.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, man. Thank
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.